Hey, folks, this is the Wayne S. Pierce Show podcast for the 18th of November, 2014. How are ya? I mean, hey, it's Tuesday. In some areas of the world, it's Tuesday. In other areas, it's Wednesday. So you're probably listening to this on a Wednesday. Anyway, how do we go about our lives without too many problems? You know, I'm just wondering. I don't know. It's probably going to be one of those shows. But let me get into some of the news. Let me give you the headlines. That way when I get back from the break, I can speak about these headlines. First of all, from Infowars.com, Navy vet labeled a terrorist for posting images of DHS vehicles in Missouri. Hotel staffer asked if vehicles were linked to impending Ferguson unrest. Interesting, isn't it? Yes. Lots of stuff are happening over there, and let's just put it this way. Things are going to come unglued. Okay? We had, this is news out of The Guardian. 4 killed in attack in Jerusalem synagogue. Palestinians armed with cleavers and guns attacked synagogue. 3 victims were U.S.-Israeli citizens, 1 a U.K.-Israeli citizen. Netanyahu vows to respond with a heavy hand, and Hamas praises attack as response to Israeli crimes. In other words, Israel's not innocent, but neither is the Palestinians. But this has been going on for thousands of years, folks. It's never going to stop. Never, 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 ever going to stop. I've heard people tell me that they need to turn that place into glass. I mean, that's what I hear. But, I don't know. I don't know, folks. I don't know. I wonder sometimes if we actually know how to get along with other people. I'm just, I'm curious. I wonder if we know how to get along with other people. It's a curious thing. We can be in the same room with, our friends, and they can disagree with us and whatever it may be. And all of a sudden we're at war with one another. Why? Can we not just get along? I know it's the late Rodney King said that, but I agree in the basics of humanity. Why can't we get along? I think that's a tough sell for most people. And it is all based, all control of any group of people is based entirely upon ego. All right? Think about that for a minute. It's based entirely upon ego. And why? Why? Because I disagree with you, and I want you to do what I want you to do, and you disagree with me because you want me to do what you want me to do. No, that's not going to happen, folks. What's going to happen is we're going to come together, find what we can agree on, and move forward. And if we can't do that, got a huge problem. I'll be back right after this. Chris Ann Hall, Liberty's lobbyist, Go to Krisanne Hall, KRISANNEHALL.com, KrisanneHall.com. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? Listen to Ashley Jones on the Red Pill Radio Show on AlternativeCurrentRadio.com.
The world is falling apart. Countries are fighting for supremacy and control. Each country's leaders are saying they should rule their people. This is neither politically correct or morally right. It is the people that suffer by the hands of the corrupt leaders of their countries. For the people to be free, they must take a stand against the corporations that control the politicians.
American Liberty Radio Network, sharing the truth one fact at a time, without all the BS. Hey folks, welcome back. This is the Wayne S. Pierce Show for the 18th of November 2014. How y'all doing this morning? Hey, lots of things going on. I'll be on Alternate Current Radio, the Red Pill Show, today at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's AlternateCurrentRadio.com. Red Pill Radio Show with Ashley Jones, if my mouth would work this morning. The Red Pill Radio Show with Ashley Jones at AlternateCurrentRadio.com. Anyway, yeah, so why can't we get along? Ego. Simple. Everybody's trying to complicate the most simplistic thing in the world, and all we have to do is look at ego. By the way, in psychology, there's ego, superego, and id. When you're up in the superego and the id area, you're looking at like people like Hitler, Mussolini, Saddam Hussein. Pathetic people that just absolutely have this socio-psychopathic view of the world, and everything has to be under their control. And unfortunately, well, you see where that got them. It doesn't end well. So, enough. You're just going to have to shut your big damn pie hole and figure out life on your own, and put your feet forward and stop listening to, those people that think they know you, It's like, oh, I think you'd be better if, or I think the job that you would be better at is, and no, you just need to get up in their face and say, you don't know me, And this is what these so-called leaders have a problem with. They don't want to get to know the people. They don't care. They're in a leadership position. They're, presidents, they're prime ministers, they're, governors, they're, whatever they are. They're just going to do whatever they think the people are going to agree to. And if they don't agree to it, then they're going to do it anyway. And that's a big problem. Okay? It's a huge problem. So, I tell people, if you don't walk in my shoes, know what's in my heart, know what's in my head, or have experienced what I have experienced, you know nothing about me. Stop presuming that whatever it is you want, I'm going to enjoy, or like, or agree with. No. It's not going to be that way. That's plain and simple. Don't complicate it. Anyway, onward and upward with the news, and I'm sure other people feel the same way about themselves. I really do. So email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Navy vet labeled a terrorist for posting images of DHS vehicles in Missouri. Hotel staff are asked if vehicles were linked to impending Ferguson unrest. Paul Joseph Watson over at Infowars, PrisonPlanet.com, posted this yesterday. A Navy veteran was labeled a terrorist and fired from his job as a houseman at the Drury Plaza Hotel in Chesterfield, Missouri, after he posted a video of dozens of Homeland Security vehicles and asked if they were linked to an impending civil unrest in Ferguson. The chain of events began when 28-year-old Mark Paffrath saw dozens of DHS vehicles in the parking garage of the hotel on Thursday evening. He took photos and video footage of the vehicles before uploading them to Facebook alongside the words, "I wonder if this has anything to do with Ferguson," along with the hashtags Ferguson and No Justice, No Peace. Drury Plaza Hotel in Chesterfield is located 25 miles southwest of Ferguson. Let me interject something here, folks. I live in the biggest little city in the world, Reno, Nevada. The state capital is about 30 miles away. Doesn't take me long to get there. Okay? Just keep that in mind. What's the nearest town to you that's only 25 to 30 miles away? Doesn't take you long to get there, does it? The following day, Paffrath was ordered to remove the photos by his boss, Jeff Baker, and the general manager of the hotel. Paffrath complied with the demand and he immediately removed the images. But the next day, he was called into a meeting with Jim Bohnert, Bohnert, Director of Security of Drury Hotels Company, LLC. Bohnert, who previously worked for the Secret Service, told Paffrath that his actions had jeopardized a $150,000 contract the hotel had with the DHS, and the Navy veteran had committed an action of terrorism by posting the photos. Quote, "You're a terrorist and you have dishonorably served your country by posting the photos and video," Bohnert told Paffrath. After that, if Paffrath reposted the photos, the video, he will, quote, "have the federal government knocking on your door and you will be incarcerated," unquote. Paffrath subsequently reposted the photographs on Facebook before commenting, "So apparently I'm a terrorist?" Argus Streaming News' Christopher Gagne said he drove through the parking garage and that around 100 Homeland Security vehicles were still situated there. Gagne attempted to get a comment from the hotel manager of the incident, but none was forthcoming. According to a report published today, as many as 80 Homeland Security agents may be in place to protect federal buildings in St. Louis, as Infowars.com documented. Police departments and National Guard units from across the country are making preparations for domestic disorder in the aftermath of the grand jury verdict in the shooting death of Michael Brown, a decision likely to be announced this week. If you heard my show yesterday, I played the audio of the video I downloaded from YouTube, from Argus Streaming News. Now, I want you all to know, and I'm going to post this particular article up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. I want you all to know one very important factor in all this, folks. The government does not give one... I'll say it like it is in my head. The government doesn't give a rat's ass about you. Do you understand me? Do you have any clue whatsoever that this government is not the way you want it to be. And they never will. And this is why I started out the program talking about ego and control. Okay? I want you to take a look at this. There's a video, of course, there about it, his video. The facts are the facts, folks. They're right there in front of your face. And if you cannot accept it, and if you won't accept it, you got a big-ass problem that you have to deal with. Here, let me give you an example. I love giving examples. Little analogies, metaphors, this kind of thing. Whatever, right? Give me an example. You're driving down a road, and you were taught how to drive, how to stop at stop signs, stop lights, all of that. So the law would state that you stop at a stoplight, and if you go through that stoplight and just blast right through it with, run the stoplight, you get a ticket, right? Okay, you know all this, right? So let me add this. You're out driving around, you're out on a, back road somewhere, and you see several people with big signs that say bridge is out. And you're like, really? If you didn't know anything about that road, what would you do? You would stop and ask. Would you not? I mean, common sense, right? But if you've been down that road 100 times, and you've been across that bridge 100 times, and you know that bridge is there, and these people are sitting there with signs stating the bridge is out, what is your next step? Because you've been down there and it's routine and you know that bridge isn't out. Oh, these people are full of crap. They don't know anything. The bridge isn't out. I've been down here 100 times. I'm just going to go screw these people. They don't know what they're talking about, right? Next thing you know, you're in the hospital in traction because you didn't pay attention to the warning signs. Okay? I'm just saying. Okay? Sorry. Something going on there in my nose. From TheGuardian.com. 4 killed in attack on Jerusalem synagogue. Palestinians armed with cleavers and should be guns, attacked synagogue. 3 victims were U.S. Israeli citizens, 1 a UK Israeli citizen. Netanyahu vows to, quote, respond with a heavy hand, unquote. Hamas praises attacks as response to Israeli crimes. And there's a link there for live updates, as a matter of fact. 4 Israelis were killed and 8 more wounded in a frenzied assault by 2 Palestinian men on Jewish worshippers praying at a Jerusalem synagogue in the most lethal incident in the city in years. The 2 assailants, who launched their attack with meat cleavers and a gun during early morning prayers, were then killed by police officers in the ensuing gun battle at the scene of the attack. The deaths occurred as the 2 men, identified as family members of cousins Ghassan and Uday Abu Jamal, from East Jerusalem district of Jabal Mukaber, burst into B'nai Torah synagogue in Harnaf, an ultra-Orthodox Jewish neighborhood in West Jerusalem. 3 of the victims held dual U.S. Israeli citizenship. One was British-Israeli citizen, 68-year-old Avram Shmuel Goldberg, who emigrated to Israel from the UK in 1993. The 3 U.S. citizens were 59-year-old Rabbi Moshe Twersky, the head of the English-speaking religious college. I don't know how to pronounce his name, sorry. R.A. Kopinski, 43, and Kalaman Ziv Levine, 55, the grandson of the founder of the most Orthodox movement, Twersky, lived close to the scene of the attack of Harnov. Witnesses, including worshippers, residents, and a first aider who entered the synagogue while the attack was continuing, described a chaotic and bloody scene as police and attackers engaged in a shootout at the building's entrance. Avika Polak, a paramedic who was one of the first on the scene, told The Guardian that he had entered the synagogue to be confronted by an individual covered in blood. Quote, he said he had been shot, but when he took off his shirt, it was covered in deep cuts. I tried to treat him, but then I heard shooting nearby. Unquote. Dragging one of the injured from the synagogue, he reached the exit to see the policeman shot. Quote, I tried to help him. I intubated him, but he was badly wounded, unquote. Another medical volunteer who arrived early on the scene was Joyce Morel. She told Haaretz newspaper, quote, the gentleman I tended to first had his tefillin on. I don't know what that is. There were also women who didn't know where their husbands were and others who didn't know where their father was. Those were most likely the ones killed. It was very hard to deal with, very upsetting, unquote. A man who identified himself only as Yossi and was in the synagogue at the time of the attack told Channel News, quote, the police arrived and surrounded the entrance, and then the terrorists ran out and they shot him. There was wild gunfire. People ran out of the synagogue. It was hell, unquote. Quote, I tried to escape. The man with the knife approached me. There was a chair between the table and us. My prayer shawl got caught, and I left it there and escaped, unquote. Yosef Pasternak, who was also praying in a synagogue at the time of the attack, told Israel Radio that about 25 worshippers were inside when the attackers entered. Quote, I looked up and saw someone shooting people at the point-blank range, and someone came in with what looked like a butcher's knife, and he went wild. He added, quote, I saw people lying on the floor, blood everywhere. People were trying to fight with the attackers, but they didn't have much of a chance, unquote, he said. Pictures posted by the Israeli army spokesman showed a man in a Jewish prayer shawl lying dead, a bloodied butcher's cleaver discarded on the floor, several overturned prayer tables. Yaakov Cohen, 60-year-old pensioner who lives in an apartment block opposite the synagogue, had been preparing to go and pray himself, described seeing the gun battle. Quote, I was getting ready to go down and pray myself. My wife had gone out for a walk. She called to tell me there was a shooting to stay home. I saw armed police at the door of the synagogue and then heard one of them shout, he's getting ready to come out. An Arab came out of the building, a man in his 30s, and police shot him as he came out. The attack is bound to ratchet up fears of sustained violence in the city already on the edge amid soaring tensions over a contested holy site. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a militant group, said the Cousins were its members. The PFLP statement did not specify whether the group instructed the Cousins to carry out the attack. Hamas, the militant Palestinian group that runs the Gaza Strip, also praised the attack. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed that Israel would, quote, respond harshly, unquote, to the attack, describing it as, quote, cruel murder of Jews who came to pray and were killed by despicable murderers, unquote. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said he spoke to Netanyahu after the assault and denounced it as an, quote, act of pure terror and senseless brutality and violence, unquote. Innocent people, this is what Kerry said, quote, innocent people who had come to worship died in a sanctuary of the synagogue, unquote. Kerry said, his voice quivering, quote, they were hatcheted, hacked, and murdered in that holy place in an act of pure terror and senseless brutality and murder. I call on Palestinians at every single level of leadership to condemn this in the most powerful terms. This violence has no place anywhere, particularly after the discussion that we just had the other day in Amman, unquote. The Palestinian president, Mohammad Abbas condemned the attack, the first time he has done so since a recent spike in deadly violence across against Israelis began. He also called for an end to Israeli provocation surrounding the sacred site. In a statement, Abbas's office said he condemns the killing for the worshippers in the synagogue in West Jerusalem, unquote. The statement called for an end to the invasion of the mosque at the holy site and a halt to incitement by Israeli ministers. In a bleak assessment of the recent wave of violence, the Israeli Justice Minister Zipni Livni told Army radio that she has long feared that if I can read, she told the Army radio that she has long feared that it's becoming a religious war. Quote unquote, a religious war cannot be solved. So anyway, what does that tell you, folks? Putting this up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. What does that tell you? What that tells me is real simple. Too many egos in one place. Everybody's trying to calm their nerves. Kerry's over there doing the best he can as a puppet to try and keep the peace, if you will. There's never going to be peace in the Middle East. Now, some people would say, well, there's not going to be any peace until Jesus comes back. Really? How about this? Let's try this on for size, shall we? How about we gather all the leaders, the prominent leaders that have some sway in the world, stay away from the United Nations, get together in a private location somewhere, hammer out a deal, and go back and make it happen. Okay? Why not? I mean, I don't care where you go. You can go to the middle of freaking Wyoming. I don't care. Go in a private, don't even go to Camp David. Screw that. Go in a private location somewhere and just hammer out the deal. And say, okay, here's what we'll do. Because I say that because how can we look upon the world as it's burning, over there in the Middle East? Things are just going, to hell in a handbasket over there. How can you and I, or a group of us, having no political experience in office anywhere whatsoever, how can we, as regular citizens, truck drivers, dog walkers, whatever, retail store clerks, whatever, how can we sit down and come up with a solution that would work when these jackasses in the other countries can't do it? How can we do that? I don't know. Some people say the solution is, well, a Moab. You know what a Moab is, don't you? Mother of all bombs. Just drop it right in the center of it and be done with it. But see, then the United Nations gets involved and they're like, that was an act of, war, blah, 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 blah. Diplomacy in the Middle East has never worked. Never will work. Well, we got to give it a chance. I hear that a lot, too. I think John Lennon was right. Give peace a chance. You know how you give peace a chance is you get rid of your damn egos. You get rid of your stupid selfishness. You say, you know what, these people, the citizens of this country, of this nation, of this state, of this city, are sick and tired of the corruption. Why don't, But here's what's going to happen. The leaders are going to keep pushing their agenda, their fascist, Marxist, communist agenda onto the people. And guess what? The people are going to look back and go, not in my backyard, butthead. And this is why you get the riots in the cities. This is why Ferguson is going to be a freaking nightmare. All right? It's just crazy. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com, freeamericaradio@usa.com. Got any questions, comments, concerns? Even if you disagree with me, show me why. freeamericaradio@usa.com. I'll be back right after this. The world as we know it is changing. We must speak out against the tyranny in our country. Stand up, speak out, get involved. Live Truth Radio. The reality underneath the honesty. LiveTruthRadio.com. The Wayne S. Pierce Show on the Free America Radio Network. Go to thewaynespearceshow.weebly.com for more information. And catch the Wayne S. Pierce Show Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 12 noon Pacific, 3 Eastern on the Free America Radio Network.
Time to take our republic back, folks. Brian Bonner, the uncooperative radio show host, will tell you how. Join us for the ride of your life. Using humor and the facts, we will expose the news that the lamestream media refuses to report. The Constitution is a solution, and we can prove it. Listen in and find out what it means to be an uncooperative citizen of these United States. You can find our show at uncooperativerradio.com, and we are rebroadcast on redstatetalkradio.com.
Sharing the truth one fact at a time. This is the Free America Radio Network.
Howdy. Or in some cases, buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás? Mi español es no muy bien. I know it's Spanish, but hey, I'm learning. Anyway, what can I say? What can I say, folks? We've had a good run in the U.S., haven't we? We've had a good run, 238 years, haven't we? I got to say this, and I want to make this very, very clear to people. I've done a lot I've done a lot in my life to enlighten people, to at least get people to pay attention, to wake up, and to really see what's going on. I get 3 different excuses. And one of the excuses is, well, that's your point of view and you have a right to it. Which means, shut up, I'm closing the door, I don't want to hear what you have to say. The other excuse is, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't agree with you. What? That just literally means, shut up, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. The third excuse is, I get this is the excuse I get. Well, if I didn't hear that on my local news, because they talk about the national stuff too. I didn't hear any of that. Which means, shut up, I've got my blinders on, I'm staring straight into this propaganda machine called state-run media, and I'm going to listen to them, not you. In other words, nobody wants to hear it. Oh, I shouldn't say nobody. I know you people out there listening to me are hearing it. Yes, and you understand what's going on. Thank you. I applaud you. Thank you. I don't hear from you. Email me, freeamericaradio@usa.com. freeamericaradio@usa.com. Now, what do? Well, like I said, we've had a good run, haven't we? Well, it's time for the people, you and I, to stand up and do what we have to do. Okay? And if we don't, or if we can't, or if we don't want to, then, well, have a nice time at the FEMA camp. From FT.com, Object 2014-28E, Space Junk or Russian Satellite Killer? Sam Jones, Defense and Security Editor. FT.com. It is a tale that could have come from the Cold War. A mysterious object launched by the Russian military is being tracked by Western space agencies, stoking fears over the revival of a defunct Kremlin project to destroy satellites. Excuse me. For the past few weeks, amateur astronomers and satellite trackers in Russia and the West have followed the unusual maneuvers of Object 2014-28E, watching it guide itself towards other Russian space objects. The pattern appeared to culminate last weekend in a rendezvous with the remains of the rocket stage that launched it. The object had originally been classed as space debris propelled into orbit as part of a Russian rocket launch in May to add 3 Rodnik communication satellites to an existing military constellation. The U.S. military is now tracking it under NORAD designation 39765. Its purpose is unknown, and it could be civilian. A project to a project to hoover up space junk, for example, or a vehicle to repair or refuel existing satellites. But interest has been piqued because Russia did not declare its launch, and by the object's peculiar and very active precision movements across the sky. Russia officially mothballed its anti-satellite weaponry program after the fall of the Iron Curtain, though its expertise has not entirely disappeared. Indeed, military officials have publicly stated in the past that they would restart research in the event of a deterioration in relations with the U.S. over anti-missile defense treaties. In 2010, Oleg Ostapenko, commander of Russia's space forces and now head of its space agency, said Russia was again developing inspection and strike satellites. Moscow Ministry of Defense did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Whatever it is, looks experimental, said Patricia Lewis, research director at think tank Chatham House and an expert in space security. Quote, it could have a number of functions, some civilian and some military. One possibility is for some kind of grabber bar. Another would be a kinetic pellets would shoot out at another satellite. Or possibly there could be a satellite-to-satellite cyber attack or jamming, unquote. They don't know what it is, folks. In a week when the European Space Agency's Rosetta spacecraft landed a probe on a comet, the peregrinations, I don't know how to pronounce that word. I think I did, could seem insignificant, but they highlight an area of growing, if so far little publicized, concern for defense strategists, the weaponization of space. Having the ability to destroy or degrade an opponent's satellite communication has been regarded as a powerful military capability since the space race began, but after the collapse of the Iron Curtain, many of the secret research projects Soviet and U.S. engineers were working on were quietly shelved. In the past few years, however, interest in space weapons have revived. I'm going to put this on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. What do you know, folks? I mean, simply asked as a rhetorical question, what do you know? If you don't know anything, why are you saying anything? Makes sense to me, right? Now, I'm going to go here. From WorldNet Daily, WND.com. Limbaugh unleashed. Obama is a sociopathic liar. Quote, there's something terribly wrong here, unquote. President Barack Obama was scorched Monday as a sociopathic liar and lying con man by radio host Rush for denying he misled the American public to get his signature health care plan known as Obamacare passed. During a news conference in Brisbane, Obama was asked by reporter Ed Henry of Fox News, quote, at your Burma town hall a couple of days ago, you tried to inspire young leaders by saying governments need to be held accountable, need to be responsive to the people. I wonder how you square that with your former advisor, Jonathan Gruber, claiming that you were not transparent about the health law because, in his words, the American people, the voters, are stupid. Did you mislead Americans about the taxes, about keeping your plan in order to get the bill passed? Here's Obama's response. No, I did not. I just heard about this. I get well briefed before I come out here. The fact that some advisor who never worked on our staff expressed an opinion that I completely disagree with in terms of voters is no reflection on the actual process that was run, unquote. Limbaugh, sounding incredulous, took direct aim at Obama's answer, stating, quote, this is what Rush Limbaugh says, quote, this is unbelievable. This little soundbite of 23 seconds may be more jam-packed with lies than any 23-second presidential soundbite I've ever played for you, unquote. Regarding Jonathan Gruber, Limbaugh said, quote, he was in meetings with Obama. Gruber had been bragging about them. Obama has talked about Gruber being in the meetings. He was not just a member of the staff. He was paid $400,000 alone just for this. Gruber has made almost $6 million in government contracts advising them on various things. Gruber has his hands in advising the regime on amnesty, illegal immigration, how to do it, when to do it, what to do, and all that. The guy's deep. He's a rock star with these people, unquote. Quote, it just confirms how stupid he thinks you are. That soundbite is an exclamation point to how stupid and gullible Obama believes you to be, unquote, the host added. Obama continued his answer to Henry, stating, quote, we had a year-long debate, Ed. I mean, go back and look at our stories. The one thing we can't say is that we did not have a lengthy debate about health care in the United States of America, or that it was not adequately covered. I would just advise every press outlet here, go back and pull up every clip, every story, and I think it will. It's fair to say there was not a provision in the healthcare law that was not extensively debated and was fully transparent, unquote. Quote, now, seriously, what are we to do about this? Asked Limbaugh. This is sociopathic. There's something terribly wrong here. I mean, this is blatant lying, unquote. He continued. Rush Limbaugh continued, there's over 22,000 pages of regulations written after the bill was passed that have never been debated. The bill itself was never debated. There was never any committee hearings with experts. This is blatant, once again, in-your-face lie that is again indicative of how stupid he believes everybody is, unquote. Limbaugh paraphrased Paul Newman's character in a 1973 film Sting, who noted, quote, "The key to the con is that it's never over. You never let the person you con know he's been conned. Never. The con goes on." Well, that's what's happening here. They have run a giant con game on the population of this country of Obamacare, and they are continuing to run the con. They are not giving it up, unquote. Quote, "Obama is fully exposed as nothing more in commonplace parlance as a lying con man," unquote. Limbaugh said members of the Obama administration are, quote, "are lying through their teeth," unquote. And, quote, "they have forfeited all credibility and believability, and you need to be suspicious of everything," unquote. He said the issue of net neutrality is the latest big con coming from Obama. Quote, "The only intelligent thing to do is to treat these people as suspects, as the suspects they are," unquote, he added. He concluded with a message for Obama's opponents in the GOP saying, quote, "It's time for the Republicans to man up," unquote, and not worry about possible shutting down the government. Quote, "They were sent there to deal with these kind of lies and this obfuscation, these con games. They were sent there to stop this," unquote, he said. Well, Mr. Limbaugh, I'm going to put this one up on the Wayne S. Pierce Show Facebook page. I'm going to say this directly to Rush Limbaugh. Good for you, sir. But the Republicans aren't innocent either. It would have that Obamacare or amnesty or anything does not get passed without them signing on the dotted line either. Okay? They're just as guilty as of obfuscation and lying as the Democrats are. So, Mr. Limbaugh, as much as I respect your analysis on these things, get your head out of the clouds of your Republican conservative heaven, because it ain't working. These Republicans are just as criminal as the next person. All right? I don't see why, and this is to my general listeners here, I don't see why people would ever want to believe these morons that are in office. They think we're stupid? No, they're the dumbasses trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And we're going to sit there and take it? I don't think so. I don't know what you people are thinking out there, but this government is gone. Like I said, we've had a good run, haven't we? If anything, you can say that the Democrats and this whole regime were transparent. What? You can say that they didn't lie. What? You can say all that. You can say that they put out these things and said exactly what they were going to do. Well, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, but you know what? I agree with Rush Limbaugh. These Democrats are pathetic, sociopathic liars and have no business in politics. None whatsoever. They don't deserve to have a job in your school cafeteria. They are just totally and absolutely mindless. They have no sense of what is right or wrong. They have no sense of equality. I don't even think they understand what the word means. So they're telling us that we're stupid. Gruber is saying that, oh yeah, they passed Obamacare because, well, the people are stupid. They won't. That's what Gruber said. So, yeah, all you conservatives out there, all you people who are, sitting on the fence wondering when somebody else is going to take the reins and guide you into your utopia, you better get your head out of your ass because you obviously have no clue what's going on. I'm not going to grab your hand and take you into, nirvana. Okay, if you're looking for Shangri-La, you ain't finding it here because you got to make your own way in life. That's what my father told me. And you know how you do that? You stop listening to other people that have absolutely no idea who you are, what you do, how you feel. And you tell your quote-unquote leaders, your quote-unquote politicians, either you do what the people tell you to do or you can resign. Why don't you tell your politicians and your leaders that today? Tell them here's what I, as a citizen and a member, a constituent of your party, want you to do. Here's what I want you to do. If you can't do that, I will accept your resignation in a full-page article in the paper, on the internet, on Facebook, in 72 hours. I guarantee you they won't do anything. They won't acknowledge what you say. They won't even give you the time of day. They won't even say hi to you. They'll just thumb their nose at you and walk away. You know why? Because their egos won't allow them to be humble. They're in a position of power now. They can do whatever they want. They're going to listen to who? Certainly not the people that put them into office. They have a problem, and their problem is they're addicted to power. And so they're going to do everything they can to project their insecurities onto us by, as Gruber said, or has claimed, or has, projected onto the people. He claims that people were stupid, and that's why Obamacare passed. Really? Really? Huh. How come we were the ones that found the facts that it was a tax? The mandates, they took those out. The states, there are states now that are saying, no, we're getting rid of Obamacare. We're going to stop it right now. There's states out there getting rid of Common Core. There's states out there, they have filed lawsuits. Certain states have filed lawsuits against the federal government right now in court, and their governors of those states have signed emergency bills into law stating that any federal agent coming to enforce gun control laws in their states will be arrested and thrown in prison. That's exactly how it should be. Because the only thing that Washington, D.C. owns is that 10 square mile piece of land that it's on. Period. They don't own anything else. It's constitutional. Go look it up. Okay? Now, we've had a good run, haven't we? We've spent time in this country doing what we could to build it up to the most industrious nation in the world, have we not? Then in 1971 or 72, somewhere around in there, Mr. Bilderberg himself, Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State under Richard Nixon, went to China and opened up trade agreements with them. That was the worst thing we ever did in the history of the United States. Do you know why? Because our founding fathers knew this. The people that signed the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution knew this, saying, don't trade with foreign entities. don't have a centralized government, don't have a centralized bank. They told us this. Oh, but did we listen? Oh, hell no. 1871, the Organic Act of 1871, go look it up, made this little 10 square mile piece of land, Washington, D.C. That's all the land they own, period. End of sentence, done. That's it. They don't own the rest of the states. 1913, Federal Reserve Act and the Internal Revenue Act, signed by President Woodrow Wilson, caused us to have money taken out of our pocket for what? By this grand design in 1910 on Jekyll Island by the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds and all these banking cartels of that time, saying, hey, something's happening in Europe and, well, we got to get over there and help them out. You ever heard of World War I, 1914 to 1918? Guess what? There you go. That is why they had the Internal Revenue Service, the Internal Revenue Act, enacted under President Woodrow Wilson. That's why they had a Federal Reserve. Has nothing to do with the federal government. You know what it was? A bunch of men, bunch of billionaires, loaning money to the U.S. military to go to war in another country. Not to protect our land, but to go to war in another country. That is World War I, 1914 to 1918. Okay? From 1918 to 1941, 23 years, we were in war. We have been constantly battling in other countries for over 200 years. (1933) rolls around. 1929, the stock market crash in October of 1929. 1933, the New Deal, which screwed America again. Then 8 years later, we go into World War II from 1941 to 1945. Then 6 years later, we go into Korea, 1951 to 1955. And then 9 years later, the false flag event of the Gulf of Tonkin in 1964 got us into Vietnam. Do your history, people. This country is screwing you. And you're just bending over going, yeah, right there. You're allowing it to happen. I don't know if Gruber was that far off, but I disagree with him. What I see is American people who are... I see U.S. citizens who are mighty pissed off at our federal government. But I don't see one group of people... I may see 10 or 12 out protesting, which is good in your area to get the word out. But I don't see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people out in the streets protesting this freaking regime. Why? Because you don't have the balls to do it. What, are you waiting for somebody else to get out there? What, are you waiting for 10 or 12 people to get out in the streets so you can say, hey, yeah, that looks like a good idea. I'll go out and do it. Oh, what? They're getting arrested? Oh, my God, I'll just stay home and watch football. You don't have the balls to do anything. Americans have become apathetic and pathetic because they don't have the balls to stand up for their own country that they were born and raised in. They don't have the balls to go down to the southern border and close it off. They don't have the balls to go to the northern border and say, you're not getting in here. They don't... No. I can go on and on and on and on and on, but I won't. Because I won't go on because some people can't control their ego. Some people can't control certain things. And these are the politicians that run your freaking city, county, state, and country. And if you don't have the balls to get them out of office, you are the one with the problem. We had a nice run for 238 years. What do you want to do about it? FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com is the email address. FreeAmericaRadio@USA.com. You can go to Free America Radio. Actually, you can go to thewaynespearshow.weebly.com and check out the website there. Folks, I'm going to go calm down because I got an interview to do later today. Talk to you later. Have fun. Enjoy. And I'll be back tomorrow.